Good evening. This is the Planning Board meeting of December 10th, 2019. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And this meeting is being brought to you by Area 58 Access Media. All right, the first, we have an A&R. And before we even go off on this A&R, if everybody should have a copy of this A&R in their packet, and every copy that we have, if we approve this tonight, has to be signed. So everybody has one, so that will each one will have to be signed. So we have an A&R for Walker Road. It's map 14, lot 17, the Fernandez brothers. So we have a discussion and possible vote tonight. Good evening.
For the record, my name is Steve Katowski from Webby Engineering. I'm here tonight with Don Fernandez, who's the owner of the property. And basically all Don wants to do is to subdivide this parcel. It was already sort of a landlocked parcel of wooded area. His bog property is over on this side, and this 15.5 acre piece of property he wants to convey to his abutter over here, who currently has a sod business where he grows sod. So he's looking for some more land to expand his business in, sort of an agricultural use over in this area, and that's the parcel that they've agreed to purchase, or he's agreed to purchase from Dom. The remaining land, the 9.08 acres, will be combined with this other parcel here that Dom owns also as Fernandez Brothers. So it's basically creating this lot parcel rather and conveying this one, and then combining the remaining land with other land that he already owns that's currently in Cranberry property.
All right. So Jim, have you had time to look at this?
Yeah, so I met with Bob Francis and Kevin Forg, health agent. Bob Francis, our building commissioner, and they said that it's noted on the plan that it's not building lots, and so that basically they're okay as Form A lots.
Okay.
I also would, just to help illustrate for people, I took of the map and lot numbers, so it's easier to kind of see in a larger context where this is happening, because we had a hard time figuring out where it was within the town on that particular map.
Yep.
So I just we took a blow up of the assessor's map to kind of show what's going on there.
All right. Any question by any of the board members?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to endorse the plan for Fernandez Brothers, Inc.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's unanimous.
Very good, thank you.
Now, so do we want to sign? Yeah, we can sign these right now.
I think you got them all, Mr. Chair.
No.
No, not, nor do I sign this one, right?
Yeah, we'll sign. We'll all the copies we'll sign.
There's 4 of them.
And this one.
Need to be signed.
Okay.
And when you guys are doing some of this.
Don't Yeah.
So, okay. So, these have been, okay. Then we get the Mylar.
You want to do those first, or we have them for a second?
Okay. Did you sign all of these? Yes, okay.
Yeah, here we go. That's what I'm saying.
It makes it easier. Thank you, guys. Have a Merry Christmas.
Okay, we have a discussion for a possible minor modification, and we have two of these. One is 157 North Main Street. It's map 24, lot 4A, Westlake Development.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. It's okay to approach and deliver some material?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you recall, this project, we had a planning board meeting on 7/9, and the notes speak for themselves. The original building was 130 feet by 50 feet, which was attached to the existing house that was out front. At that meeting, there was discussion about whether or not we would fall under the 7,500 square foot rule to not require sprinklers. And at that time, through our engineer, he went back and made an adjustment, and he realized that it was not going to work, and we would have to make the building smaller and detach it from the existing building. And we did have the discussion here, and then there was a vote to approve 4-1. We sent in revised plans, which are attached. So the first thing in your packet is that cover letter, and then the next thing is the letter from Grady Engineering talking about the timeline of events. And then the third item is the actual recorded decision by this board for the project. And then the fourth piece here is the proposed building plan. And then the last item is the site plan showing the detached building. And just for reference, when we came in originally, this is how the building looked. And essentially what we did was cut off this nub and shorten the building by 30 feet. And we now have a detached building that's 50 by 100. In my recollection of the meeting, that's what we discussed, and I thought that's what was approved. Unfortunately, as you know, Rich Cirque wasn't feeling well during that time period, and his partner was filling in, and there was some back and forth, and it wasn't run as smoothly on our end as it should have been. And Rich is not here tonight because he's decided to wind his practice down. So, yeah, I know it's a bummer, but
Wow.
yeah, he's not doing any more night meetings. So I'm here alone, well, except for my daughter Alexandra, and trying to get this resolved. So we went to pull our building permit, and in the decision that was filed and recorded by the clerk on page, well, the second page in, if you look down under findings, 5 lines down, it says the dimensions of the proposed structure is 130 by 50. And so, rightly so, the building inspector, when we filed for our permit, said this decision does not match your plan. You have a 100 by 50 building, and therefore, I can't issue the permit. So we're here seeking a minor modification to that language to just reference the 100 by 50-foot building rather than 130 by 50. Everything else stayed the same: parking, dimensional requirements, no changes to landscape, no changes to impervious area. Still have all the containment, the drain, all the other language in the decision would stay the same. We're just looking to modify that dimension, that one dimension wording there.
Okay. All right, Jim, do you, I finished?
Yeah, I am, thank you.
Thank you. Jim, do you have anything to, I know that I spoke with you before the meeting about this as we looked over the plans.
Right. Other than, this is my first ever planning board here, so I wasn't part of any of the previous discussions, so, so it was, when Buzz came in, it was, kind of confusing, the fact that, okay, this was, what was stated in the decision was different than a plan that they had that was dated right after the, week after the meeting. Actually, I think they show a revision at 7/15/19 based on the planning board meeting. So, yeah, so, I mean, I have no objections to them coming in with a revised plan. I don't know, it's kind of a reduction in mass. I don't think we need any, kind of recalculation of, the drainage or anything of that nature. I don't know if you had a chance to go by the fire department just to pass it by them.
Yeah.
Recent with the proposed changes.
Yeah, we reviewed this with Jesse, and he agrees that now we're below the 7,500 square feet for the 2 structures.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have no objection if the board wants to act on it.
Okay, so are there any other departments that you would like to
Other than
have
fire,
this reviewed?
yeah, other than fire, but, the fire department's gonna get another crack at this when the building commissioner completes his review of the project,
Okay.
so.
So would you recommend that if we were to think that this was a minor modification, would you recommend that we do this tonight, or should we put this off to January for the final approval?
I know earlier we talked and I was suggesting the next meeting, but it's really just this one dimension.
Okay,
And I think we just have to, I would maybe, I don't know what I would do if I had to do an amendment to this letter saying that, or in addition to this letter to say that, the dimension of the building is, what is it, 100 by 30?
100 by 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, hearing all that, are there any questions by any members of the board?
Not, Mr. Chair, through you. I remember going through this proposal. He reduced the size of the building It gives more access around the building now with that gravel in between the front structure and the rear. The existing dwelling is still not a residential, correct?
There's no one living there. She's moved out.
So that's still going to be used for office space and what have you?
Yeah, that's the way,
Okay.
again, that's written in the decision that's been already approved by the clerk. The only change would be there's that one dimension, no
Yep.
other changes to any language.
So that being said, I mean, other than it being small and giving a little bit more access around the property and stuff, I don't have a problem with it. I think it was a good project when he started. I still think it's a good project.
Jen, do you have any
Is this
questions or
something,
comments?
should Fuss and O'Neill look at this since it is a different site plan?
I think Jim already.
Thought about that, but I think there's really nothing, like, say, increasing pervious surface. It's within the, setbacks of the previous building with the connection between the two. And then I believe it also adds the additional driveway access, so for the fire department can access the rear of the building. And they have two means to access, because they can come from where the parking area is, and then also from one of the driveways to the back of the building.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if that was to become paved, we might have to have our engineers take a look at that, but it's a gravel driveway, so it's impervious, so it doesn't affect the drainage. So, I don't really think that they really need to look at this an additional time. Anybody else? Jim, do you have anything? All right, yeah, I know this was a long process, and it took several months to, or maybe even longer. It was confusing. I did remember this as being connected, but now you've disconnected it. I don't think that that's a big deal. I would entertain a motion to endorse these plans as a minor modification.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minor modification for 157 North Main Street as submitted to us tonight.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No,
Abstentions? Okay, so we have 3-4, and so is that an appropriate
Yep.
vote amount?
Yep, 3 to
Okay.
1.
All right, so you're all set for a minor modification.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas, guys.
too.
All right, next, we have a discussion and possible minor modification for 67 Main Street, map 61, lot 1-0-R, MG Lotus.
This is the townhouse on C Street.
Oh, if you give us your name and address, please?
Yeah, Nathan Borges for 67 Main Street in Carver. Basically, had spoken with the neighbors to us. On the map plan, we had a fence separated. And after speaking with them, we had kind of agreed to have the vinyl fencing go from the back of the back of the garage to the front of the shed, as opposed to, 200 feet from front to back. So they're here now, they're okay with it. We just wanted to make sure that that was something we could do as far as modifying the plans.
Okay. Do we have that plan? I guess we'll discuss this. So this is the project of the buildings that are next to the
Yeah, the 6 condos that are down the road there.
Mazzelli Plaza? Okay,
correct.
it is to the right of that.
Chair?
Yep.
Okay, so we,
I have a kind of a visual to help.
okay,
Oh, sorry.
so, just, tell everybody where it is. So we, as far as I remember, we had a fence going to the rear of those buildings, and then we had one in front of the buildings, and the one that is in front of the building, you want to foreshorten, is that what, make it
No,
shorter?
it would be the back. So the front
Oh,
of
it's
the
the back.
building goes all the way. It's behind where it abuts their property.
Oh, okay,
So had we done the fence all the way, it goes really close to where the driveway and everything was. So
Mm-hmm.
after speaking with them, we had kind of agreed on just doing the vinyl fence from the back of their driveway to the front of where the rear shed is. So basically, it's like 40 feet of screen, like, just the closed-in vinyl fencing.
okay,
So that was kind of, again, that's why they're here now. So they were okay with that, and we're okay with that. We just wanted to make sure that, I guess, we could make that amendment to
okay.
plans.
All right, so how does everybody feel about that?
Mr. Chair, through you,
Mhm.
I'd like to hear from the abutter.
Okay. If you could just come up to the microphone so that the thousands of people viewing could see you.
No pressure.
Yes, I'm Jacqueline Parent, and I'm a neighbor to the new buildings there, and.
Yeah, what's your address, please, just for the record?
65 Main Street.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And originally, the planning board, 4 years ago, said that they had to put in a 246-foot fence.
Mhm.
I agree with them as far as putting them in the front. It isn't gonna look good. And we have enough shrubs and bushes and stuff for privacy there.
Okay,
And then we have our garage. So we figured from the back of our garage to past the last building,
Past the last one.
the last building,
mhm.
would be sufficient. And I would prefer to have a white vinyl fence.
vinyl,
Yeah,
Okay,
so it'll look good on both sides with
Correct,
both
yeah.
of us.
okay,
And I'd be happy with that.
okay.
It would give us privacy in our backyard, because the buildings they have the decks on our side. So in the summertime, they're gonna be out there, they'll want their privacy, and I also want mine.
Okay, and I believe the reason the planning board thought that the fencing was a good thing across your property at the time
Yeah,
was, it was for you people, so that you wouldn't have to view, the backyards of
Yeah.
of the new buildings coming in, but also, for the people that bought those condos and.
right,
But if you say that there's enough screening, I mean, it was really done for you people, so that you wouldn't have to look at anything coming in that was new.
right.
But if you,
No, we'd be
don't wanna have
satisfied
that.
with that.
All
We
right.
would, but I don't want just a rickety old fence, I want a white vinyl fence.
okay. Oh, what was the type of fence that we approved in the plan?
Honestly, I don't think it actually specified, but
Oh, okay,
I figured that's what they want.
if you want
Yeah,
that.
That's what we
yeah.
wanted to
Well,
do.
eliminating 70 feet of fence.
Yeah.
Correct, so we'll go with a
So,
little more
yeah,
expensive
a
one.
little more expensive, but still, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
You figure you're eliminating 70 feet?
it's probably
Rob-
closer to like maybe like 120 feet.
Is
Like,
it 120?
I think it's
Yeah.
maybe only about 60 feet
Yeah.
from the back of the driveway, or the back of the garage to maybe, you said the behind the shed, like,
Well,
that
the
back
last building, the
Yeah.
last condo there.
So I need
Oh,
I
want
need
it
an
to go, I
appropriate
want it to
distance.
go past the
okay.
last condo.
oh, okay.
Not just from the back of my garage to my shed.
Okay,
I want it to go past,
the sixth,
the-
the sixth unit there?
right, the
Oh,
sixth
okay,
unit.
so yeah, then it would
Yeah.
probably be roughly around, maybe about just like 40 feet less than the original one.
So you're talking about 200 feet.
Yeah, maybe just shy of 200 feet. Probably like, yeah, maybe like 180, right around there.
So, okay. So we're gonna come back from the back of the garage to the end of building 6?
6, right.
Is there a height of the fence?
I think
6 feet,
Yeah, 6 feet is pretty
they
standard.
usually, yeah,
And it's gonna be white vinyl, you said?
white vinyl.
White
Yep.
vinyl, okay.
We'll just do
Okay.
like solid slats.
Yeah,
so you don't
yeah.
see through it, yeah.
Okay. So I'd want you to submit a cut sheet to the, so we can add it to your packet
Okay,
of what the actual vinyl fence is gonna look like,
sure,
okay?
that's no problem.
I just have a question. The fence will be on the back of the building, so is that where the decks are?
Yes.
Yeah,
So 6 feet's okay on?
yeah.
on
Well, the
your-
first three, with, you know, being winter, the trees, the leaves are off the trees, you can kind of see them. But what I'm figuring, who sits out on their deck this time of year? Not too many people. So, but in the summertime, you can hardly see the first three because the shrubs, we have
Foliage, yeah,
enough
comes in.
shrubs and stuff, or trees, you know, that fill in. But the back ones are wide open to our property.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
And I'm not familiar with how high the decks are. Will 6 feet cover that, or?
Oh, yeah, the decks are roughly
Awesome.
18 to 24 inches off the ground.
Okay.
they're
Yeah, I'm
fairly
sure
low.
6 feet fence would
Okay.
give us enough
I just
privacy.
want to make sure you're happy with
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I believe it's up
Yeah.
on, like, it kind of goes up too, so I guess it'd more like be like an 8-foot fence from where the deck physically is.
Now, will
Because
that fence go
kinda
right
goes up.
on the property line, or will it go in a foot?
It
Most of-
probably
Go in a foot
yeah.
or so, yeah.
And you're doing this so that if they put the fence further towards the street, they would have to cut a lot of vegetation out? Is that what
They
you were concerned?
would, they would,
Okay,
and
you'd rather have the
also,
vegetation than the fence.
also,
like-
our driveway's right there.
Yeah.
Oh.
it's-
So
like-
it would block our view, cars coming
Oh,
down from
okay,
south, you know,
Okay.
to north,
all right.
yeah.
Do you have
Since,
any questions?
well, yes, since I wasn't involved with the original project, could you step forward and show me on this image exactly the area we're talking about?
Sure. So there's their house there.
Okay.
So we already have this fencing going along here,
Mhm.
it's just along this property. There's a lot of trees already, but there's like an older wooden fence that we've already removed, and essentially it was gonna come from the street all the way down to the back of this condo.
Okay.
Instead, we're just eliminating, say, like the first 40 to 60 feet out into there, where this little building is. That's
Mhm.
their little garage. So it'll go from the back of there just to here. So essentially screening these back four, because the foliage are for the first two.
Okay,
That's essentially what it is.
okay, thank you. And then through you, may I ask the neighbor, eliminating the fence, you said kind of open up your view of the decks during the winter time, but you had
In the
concerns
winter.
of the fences blocking your view. What if additional vegetation was added where the fence is being eliminated, so it's blocked year-round? Would that still block your view of cars
Well,
coming south?
I don't know, I mean, if they wanted to put shrubs or whatever.
Well,
you know.
because if the original decision wanted to screen your whole property, maybe if it's being amended, adding vegetation there instead of the fence would be a good option.
Not in the back. No, I want a fence.
No, I mean up where
Oh, up
it's being
front,
eliminated.
up front?
The part where it's being eliminated.
Well,
Would you want vegetation there so you never see those two decks?
well, that would be better, but I don't know what they'd put.
I think there's some, like, kind of like arborvitae type evergreens. I could do something like that. And I mean, eventually they'll grow in and cover. I mean, they start off small, but.
And you don't think that would obstruct your view, your,
Well, the original plan was they couldn't start, it was 40 feet?
Something like that.
Yeah, because when we back out of our driveway,
Mhm.
we can't see, you know, cars coming down if there was a fence all the way to the beginning of the property.
right.
And I have my garage there.
Yeah.
And that takes up a good space.
Mhm.
So to put a fence, you know,
Yeah.
right there, I mean, it doesn't make sense. We have enough privacy. I have my
Okay.
deck, and it's, my garage is here, my deck is over here.
Mhm.
So we have privacy there, but it's when we're out in the backyard.
Right.
And then we have a couple of sheds, and I'd like to have, you know, that
I just wanted
closed
to see
in, protected.
if you wanted year-round screening from you in those decks. Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they could, if
Yeah,
you.
I mean, we can
yeah.
add some extra foliage in that area. I know there's I don't know, I think they're oak trees perhaps, so there's several
There's pine
trees,
trees,
yeah,
they're just pine
that are already
trees and,
there.
yeah.
But I mean, like maybe in between, like where the pine trees are, perhaps
Yeah,
add maybe 4
that
or
would be
5
good.
or 6 evergreens or
That would be
something.
good,
That's
yeah.
fine.
To add foliage?
Yeah.
That wouldn't block your view or make it
Right,
worse. Just
right,
kinda
would
change-
probably-
Just kind
into-
of change the screening
Yeah, maybe.
while reduce it, and then change the screening in an area. That's, in my opinion, that's what I would recommend.
So essentially add like the evergreens, kind of like maybe like 6 or 7, like more toward
Yeah,
our side, so
right.
that way.
And it doesn't even have to be in front of the first building, because my house is set back
Yeah,
off the road, so the building's way up here. I mean, that's not gonna bother us.
Okay, so could we put in the minor modification that they're foreshortening the fence and planting 6 arborvitaes to be placed by location to be determined by builder and.
That would be good,
And,
Yeah.
and the homeowner?
Great,
that would be good.
Okay.
great. Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments, additions, deletions?
Mr. Chair,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minor modification for 67 Main Street with the following conditions. It'd be approximately 200 feet of white vinyl fence, 6 foot high, starting from the back of the garage to the end of Building 6. And a plan of that, the specifications be submitted to this board. And also 6 arborvitaes are to be planted in the locations to be determined by the builder and the property owner.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion second, further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so it's unanimous.
Thank you, folks.
All right, thank you. You've got the minor modification and, all right, next. All right, so then we have a public hearing continuation, and the first one is the application of Rebecca Flaherty requesting a special permit.
Have a good Christmas, guys.
Okay.
Two.
We have the application of Rebecca Flaherty requesting a special permit to sections 2230 of the Carver zoning bylaw. It's located at 66 Home Street in Carver, to operate a hobby kennel in a residential agricultural district. What have we heard about this, Jim?
So we have heard nothing from Ms. Flaherty. Staff has reached out to her on a couple occasions in the last week to see if she'd be continuing with her application. Haven't heard anything back. She hasn't communicated anything to us, and she is not present tonight.
Okay. So should we continue this hearing to January 14th then, which would be our next, I believe that's our next meeting date, 14th?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
could I make a suggestion that we send a certified letter to Ms. Flaherty stating that we need to get a resolution on whether or not she's going to continue or to withdraw without prejudice
Okay.
by our next meeting, and whatever that meeting date was,
Yeah, it's January 14th.
January 14th.
Okay, that
You
sounds
guys are
good.
good with that? I'll make.
Yes.
a motion.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that the board send Rebecca Flaherty, 66 Home Street, a certified letter stating that by the 16th of January 2020,
Actually, I want to say 14.
is it the 14th? Thank you.
Yep.
The 14th, that she has resolution if she's either going to continue with this application or she will withdraw without prejudice. That is my motion.
I will second.
So you have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to continue the public hearing for Rebecca Flaherty, 66 Home Street, to the 14th of January, 2020, at 7 o'clock.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. The next is the application of Borrego Solar Systems requesting a special permit and site plan review, and this is the one on 19C Ward Street in Carver, and it's for a ground-mounted solar energy storage facility. It's a solar field and energy storage facility. And so what's going on with this, Jim?
So so Borrego was looking at that site, and originally when they were looking at the site, they're doing traditional ground-mounted solar, not dual use, but they have mistaken the changes to the bylaw where it allowed reductions in the setbacks. So they originally applied under using those setbacks as the reduced setbacks as the setbacks. And so through the peer review process and discussion with myself, they determined that they were not eligible to use those setbacks. And so they have to go back and kind of redo the plans. Then they did kind of a revamp, and they were trying to use the joint use proposal and get reduced setbacks. But they thought that meant joining the two systems together from one property onto the next property. And so they, showed it to Fuss and O'Neill. Fuss and O'Neill said, no, you're gonna have the, 12.5-foot setbacks on either side between the projects, in essence, 25 feet. And so they said, okay, now we have to go back and just do another redesign to more fully comply with the bylaw. And so they're still working on it, revising their plans, and so they asked for a continuance to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, make a motion to continue the public hearing for Borrego Solar Systems. Are they okay with the 14th?
Yes.
To January 14th, 2020, at 7 o'clock.
I'll second that.
so we have a motion, a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have on the application of Clean Energy Company, Joe Shanahan, requesting a special permit and site plan review. And this is, and it's for a 2-megawatt dual-use, large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic project. And this was Zero Snappet Road.
I got Snappet there. Right, so they've been working with the Perrys to try to get access to the property. Chairman requested that the applicant do some sight lines on the property. So they got permission, and the survey crew was out on the Perry property today, so they wouldn't have anything available for the board today. So they requested continuance to the January 14th meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for Zero Snappet Road, Clean Energy Company, to January 14th, 2020, at 7 o'clock.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
And they just said, I don't know if this is the right time to do it, but the applicant, during our site walks, and mentioned that this project was subject to the, what's referred to as the Dover Amendment. And typically, it's mostly educational and religious facilities that are applied to that. I reviewed the statute, and solar facilities are covered by this amendment. I spoke with our town council this morning and brought it up to her, and she said that the Dover Amendment only applies to those towns that do not have solar bylaws. So in this case, the town of Carver bylaws are defective. The applicant has to meet the Carver zoning bylaws.
Thanks, Jim.
And then there's another issue, and and I don't know if anyone else realizes it, is that the applicant is requesting full waivers of all these screening requirements. So I just want to bring that up, because I went back to review the application, and in that application, they requested waivers of all those screening requirements. And then furthermore, they also, on the Makepeace property, which abuts this property kind of in a southeasterly direction, they got their approval to do the 25 setback, but when I reviewed the ordinance, it appears that it's saying that they have to get permission from all the abutters in order to get those reduced setbacks. So when I spoke to our town council, I'm going to be putting together a package to her, send it to her so she has time to review it before the next meeting, and then she can get back to us on some of these nuances.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
All right, on the application of Renewal Energy Development Partners LLC requesting a special permit and site plan review, and this is to allow construction of a large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installation. This is located at 0 Pond Street in Carver.
And they're requesting a continuance to the January 14th meeting. When we were out in the field with them, questions were asked about certain properties, and had they been in contact with those property owners to see what their feelings were on the screening. Because there's some places have kind of limited viewpoints onto the property where they may see solar panels kind of during the winter months when there's kind of lack of screening. And then there's another area where it was pretty crystal clear that they'd be looking on the piece where the solar canopies over the waterway, agricultural canal go through, so that those houses may have a viewpoint on those solar panels. So the chairman asked asked the applicant to meet with those property owners and have more discussions to see how that impacted their viewpoints. So they need some more time to follow through and contact those neighbors, and so they're requesting a continuance to the 14th. And then in addition to that, we had a neighbor on Bunny's Road, I believe it was 37 Bunny's, came in. He was concerned about the project, and so I put him in touch with Sarah Stearns, who's from Beals and Thomas, and then she put him in touch with the two individuals, I believe it was Hank Wimet and Tom Meehan, or Mellahan, who are the two principals that we met with, and to have them come to his property and kind of explain where the panels would be on his side.
All right, thank you, Jim. So did we vote on a continuance for this?
No, yeah.
No, we haven't, yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing for renewable energies development for 0 Pond Street until January 14th, 2020 at 7 o'clock.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
The 14th going to be busy.
All right, we have another one. Let me see if I can come up with, I know it's in the packet here somewhere. Okay, here it is. Okay, we have a new public hearing to open, and this is, I have a public hearing notice. In accordance with the provisions of the Town of Carver zoning bylaw, the Carver Planning Board will hold a public hearing on December 10th, 2019, at 7 p.m. in the Carver Town Hall, Meeting Room 1, on the application of M.T. McMahon requesting a special permit pursuant to Sections 2230 and 5300 of the Carver zoning bylaw. It's located at 2 Fuller Street in Carver, Mass. Assessors map 50, lot 5-1R, to operate an online auto sales business in general business district. Any persons interested and wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place designated. A copy of the plan is on file at the Planning Department and may be reviewed during normal business hours. Carver Planning Board, Bruce Mackey, Chair. Carver Report of published dates, November 22nd and 29th of 2019. Good evening. Give us
Hello.
your name and address, please.
Michael McMahon, 10 Gate Street, Carver.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kayla O'Farrell. I'm Michael McMahon's office manager.
Okay. All right, so what's going on?
I have an auction license, and it was issued by the town of Plymouth. I think we've had it, what,
3 years.
3 years? And we bought a building here in Carver and moved our business from Plymouth. And we just want to transfer the license because it's up in January. The option is an on-sale license because I've never sold a car. The only, I've sold them within my company. I've got 25 American employees, all residents of Plymouth and Carver, and they're young men, they need automobiles. And I'm a car guy. I've done 4 frame-off restorations in the last 6 years. 52 Chevy pickup truck I'm doing right now. So always had an interest in automobiles, so I'll go to the auction, pick up something for a couple of $1,000s, improve it, and then send it over to my employee at a nominal cost and finance it for him, so he has transportation. That's essentially what it is. Out of maybe the dozen cars that I've bought, 2 of them for my daughter in college, one for my son. So it's just the ability for me to go to the auction and buy a car that's used and improve it.
Now, you're gonna do work on the site that you have now, which is what?
Well, I have a warehouse and I have that facility. I have a fleet of trucks. I have 9 trucks on the road every day and have a fleet mechanic, so he will generally do the repair for me. I bought, when I was starting the business, it was quite expensive. We bought a lot of used equipment that needed to be improved. And I would spend $30,000 on a truck and then improve it, so I had it on the road cost efficient. And so we've developed, I weld and have developed all these mechanical skills. And as we grew, I brought in a mechanic to maintain the fleet. And as we grow, we've been able to buy new equipment. So we've improved, by being cost efficient. So it's just an option for me to go to the auction and buy something.
So are you gonna be doing any work on your property now? I mean, as far as operation?
Well, if I buy a car at auction, yes, I would improve it there.
So you're gonna, okay, so you would be doing mechanical work?
I do it now because, again, I maintain my fleet.
All right.
The fleet, like I said, I put 9 trucks out every day. There's always difficulties and things that need to be repaired. And as they come in at night, or I'll repair it so it goes out the next day.
Okay, so would you be storing vehicles on your property too? Used cars?
What I would like the capacity for 2.
Okay. Yeah, so, see, generally this goes to the selectmen, right?
It did, we got approval.
And
Yep.
and they approved that?
They asked us to come
cars
here,
on site.
correct.
All right. All right. Anything that you have to add, Jim, to this?
Not at this moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions by board members?
So, Mr. Chair, through you, I'd like to ask through you to the applicant. I noticed that you've done quite a bit of clearing out on your site. I know that you came in front of this board,
2 or 3 years ago,
yeah, somewhere around there, for a site plan review when you first purchased the building. for
correct.
X amount of space that you're going to do clearing and stuff. There's some concerns that I have for the applicant. Number one, your clearing that you did in the raised area that you have now, where you have some of your trucks being parking at night. Also, you have a couple of dry storage trailers that are out there now.
Correct.
I don't believe that any of that was approved during our initial approval of your,
I was approved.
Okay, well, I just want to review the application to make sure that what you've
I
done
built
for
it
construction.
as it was approved.
Okay, I just want to review it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, because I want to make sure that what was done out there, because we've had a lot of inquiries from the residents around there asking that question, and I couldn't answer the question. So I want to be able to do that. I don't know that in your previous decision, because I don't have it in front of me, whether or not working on automobiles for sale was part of that decision. I know that there was going to be routine maintenance done on your vehicles there, but now you're looking for something that is going to be for sale, whether it's to one of your employees or to somebody down the road. So I want to look at that. I think those are concerns that I have at this stage of the game for this application, but I wanted to give him a heads up of what I'm going to be looking for as we walk down this path. That's all I got for right now.
Any other questions by any other board members? Jen, do you have any questions?
Would it be possible for me to see the site, because I wasn't involved in the original permit?
Well, what I suggest, you've talked this over with Jim, I don't know if Jim and your department has had time to look at what the original plans for the site, and so we kind of want to, as Will pointed out, maybe take a look at what's there now and what was approved. I don't know if an additional couple parking spaces will have to be added for that, but we'll have to take a look at the plans. So I would think if we could continue this meeting to January 14th, and then by that time, we'll have looked at the plans, and if there's any problems, then Jim can get back to you, and maybe we can meet January 14th and
How does that do for the license expires January 1st,
Yeah,
though,
our
right?
only concern would be that our license with the town of Plymouth is expiring on January 1st, so we had hoped that by coming to this meeting, we would have a resolution. We do understand your concerns and wanting to be thorough, though, but we did just want to raise that as well.
So through you, Mr. Chair, so the Board of Selectmen have given you authorization, they've asked you to come to here for that. So the Board of Selectmen issued the licensing of your business. We don't. We do the site plan, and we do that end of it. So I would check with the Board of Selectmen and your attorney to ensure that that's the case. We don't issue licenses.
Excellent, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so
Good.
that would give you time, Jen, to,
Right.
go by the site and take a look at it.
Yeah.
You could even contact Jim, and maybe he would have some of the old site plans from a couple of years ago when they developed this for their business there, so you could have time to take a look at that too.
Would it be okay if I come
Sure.
by and see it? Is it
Sure.
okay if you're not there, or should we arrange a time?
You can arrange a time, and I'll show you the site.
Okay.
And I have the drawings, the stamped drawings approved by the town.
Could I get your email address and we'll coordinate something?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Okay, great.
so our office email, it's McMahon, that's MCM.
Yep.
AHON, and then insulation, that's INS as in Sam,
Yep.
ULATION, @gmail.com. And I can also provide you with our office number if you need to get in contact via phone.
Sure.
It's 781-831.
Yep.
1234.
Awesome.
And I'm personally at extension 101, but you should reach a person if you call us.
Until you've said that before.
Yeah, a few times.
Okay, thanks. I will be in touch.
Awesome, thank you.
Always available.
Great.
We like giving tours.
All right,
Beautiful
that'll give us time.
Thank you, we're proud of it.
No, it looks nice, the work that you just did recently. It's improved the site
We
considerably.
appreciate that.
We tried to do things correctly, and I tried to follow the drawing exactly as it was approved.
Yep.
All right, so that'll give you time to dig up the old drawings, take a look and see, what this looks like, and it'll give time for some of the planning board members to go out and take a look at the site if they wish. All right, it is a public hearing. If there's anybody out there that has any comments, I Don't see anybody out there.
We hope that our neighbors are happy with us. We've tried to develop a good relationship with everybody, and
Okay.
you know, business is, it's, you know, regular hours, 8 o'clock till 5 it's closed. We don't work on the weekends, and some maintenance done, trucks are cleaned on a Saturday, but keep things low key. So we try to be good neighbors.
Yeah. Do you have another business there too, beside the installation business?
I retail kitchen cabinets. My wife is a kitchen designer,
Okay,
so we sell kitchens to mostly builders.
okay,
So it's by appointment.
okay. Was that on the original
Yeah, I remember
application?
that.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay. All right, very good.
She had been with Home Depot for many years, and so she started her own business.
Okay. Great. So,
Make a motion to continue the public hearing for MT McMahon to January 14th, 2020 at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock's very popular.
Thank you very much.
do I have a motion, a second? Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Okay, same to you. Have a
See you
good
after the
holiday.
new
We'll
year.
see you in January.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have some plans from the last meeting that need to be endorsed by the planning board members that are present.
Okay.
Um,
Want to do that right now?
Yeah, if we can, before I forget, then I get in trouble tomorrow if I don't have them done.
Uh-oh, we don't want you to get in trouble, Jim.
What are they?
Okay, that was the Makepeace A&R plan.
The one on Federal?
That's correct.
They don't want to be in trouble. Well, we will.
I think Kevin is one person who's not present tonight that also signed, so Joe will make arrangements for him to come in and sign.
Going off a lot of signing tonight.
Thank you.
All right, planning board member notes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Last Thursday, here at this town, in this room, I was very fortunate enough to be present as the chairman of the redevelopment authority to accept a very large grant from the state for MassWorks. The governor was here to award that to this community for a MassWorks grant for the North Carver Route 44 project. That grant was a $3.1 million grant that this community got. And I wanted to take the time, because I didn't really mention it during that time that I was asked to speak, that this community had worked very hard at implementing a whole lot of planning directives that the state had put in place and we took advantage of and this community enacted. And a lot of that came through this board and previous planning board members through the 14, 15 years that we've been working on that project. And I'd be remiss by not saying thank you for all your hard work. Many, many hours of your dedication to this community held a great big part of bringing that to fruition. This board had made some very tough decisions, and we brought them to town meeting because of the leadership that we had in place at this community. And we were able to enact that. And one of the things, when I was sitting in this chair here, and the governor was sitting here, and the governor leaned to me and said, "This is a very large grant." I said, "Yeah, it is." I said to him, is my exact words, he doesn't understand how important this is to this community. For all the hard work that you've done on these boards and all the other boards that you guys are committed to, and other planning board members and planning directors that we've had, I just wanted to say thank you, because that was huge for this community. And I was very honored to be participate in that. So I wanted to say thank you to you guys.
Well, thank you, Will. And I just want to express my appreciation to Will for all the years that he's been on all the committees and on the planning board and everything, all the hard work. Sometimes several boards at a time with multiple meetings a week. And I know all the members and all the people on your redevelopment authority and all the other boards that you've worked on have also contributed, but you've been chairman of many, and I appreciate all the work that
Thank
you've
you.
done for this town.
Thank you.
Good job. Anything else? All right, planning director
Oh,
notes.
wait, okay.
Oh,
I thought you were asking Will if there's anything else. Oh. The solar project on Federal Road that Makepeace is putting in across from Ocean Spray, that's
Yep.
currently being cleared. There's a huge puddle that forms a little bit south on Federal Road when it rains, and it appears to be coming from runoff from that project. Didn't know how we could look at that to see if it is, and then if it is, what it needs to be done to be mitigated.
Okay,
Because I noticed it, and I also had someone else bring it up too.
okay.
So it's massive.
So that would be,
Pass it on.
right, talk to Jim, and then he could talk
Well,
to
actually,
John Woods.
John Woods has been alerted to the problem by his team.
Okay,
So he approached me, I contacted Zach Farkas from, I forgot the name of it.
Corrego.
Borrego.
Borrego. And so he had people he's in contact with from Makepeace, and so they're working with John now to resolve that issue.
Excellent.
So
Fantastic.
fast action, right?
Thank you. Great, that's it.
Thanks, Jen. If all problems could be solved like instantly like that, huh?
We have another problem we wish we could solve as quickly as that.
Okay, planning director notes.
So in your packets, what I've done, I put together kind of a consolidated list of items that we submitted as placeholders for the town meeting warrant. And so I talked to the chairman tonight before the meeting to see how he wanted to kind of handle these bylaws. And he suggested for me just to go ahead and draft up some bylaws for review by the planning board, and then that could initiate the discussion on a number of these items. And then Jen asked me to, on the second page, there's a bullet for address signs on public property, telephone poles, et cetera. Jen sent that to me last week. The other one I added to, it kind of has to relate to kind of our problems with enforcing kind of code enforcement on properties where you have various junk. The Board of Health is kind of working on something, on some regulations. But I also thought that maybe if we designate certain properties as strictly residential versus the residential agriculture zoning district, so that way maybe they're held to maybe a slightly different standard than, say, the RA properties, which would be residential properties that are still related to agricultural use. Because I know that a lot of the growers, they have equipment and other things they use for parts as part of their business, but they, may look junky, but, they still have that equipment available. So that way we can make a distinguishment if the, board so desired to go in that direction. So I was going to propose that. And then I was also contacted by the state, and there's going to be some changes to the flood plain delineations. And so they sent me a request to add that as a item to put onto the town meeting agenda, to reference new firm flood insurance rate maps in the bylaw. And then the other thing I just have is Mr. Hoffman sent me an email with the article, solar article that I included in the packets. And then I also went to the Smart Energy website and came across this article on the cranberry growth and productivity on the dual-use panels, for give everyone a chance to do some fun reading outside of the planning board meeting. So that's a Merry Christmas present to you.
Nice.
All right, thank you, Jim. We have the minutes of November 26th, 2019.
I just got them, so can we table them to next time?
Sure, if it's all right with everybody else?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll table those. And I did forget to say under planning board member notes that we're not going to, well, okay, so we have our next meeting date will be January 14th of 2020. And just want to say to everyone here that to have a good Christmas holiday, and because we won't see each other until next year. And to everyone out in the audience, too.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion, and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.